Management, MBA for Executives Women's Panel with leadership from the class of 2020 and the class of 2021. My name is Maria Stutzmany Marquez, and I serve as the Associate Director of Admissions, and I'm joined on the back end by our Assistant Director, Liz Lewis. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, especially to join us from across the country as we gain resilience during these unprecedented times within our collective history. On behalf of Yale University, the Yale School of Management, and our MBA for Executives program, we wish you and your loved ones the very best in health and safety today and always. It is my honor and extreme privilege to welcome back our recent graduates and our current student to the panel today to share in their experience of the program and as professionals. So thank you each for being here today. I know our format will be a moderated panel for the next 45 minutes in which we hope to field questions live at the end, should we have enough time. Liz on the back end and myself will be fielding questions through the quick Q&A function in the Zoom during the session and also through the chat. So please feel free to drop in questions there and we'll do our best to get to them. Our panel today is graciously moderated by Sanji Silva, who is the class of 2020 and who began the program as a senior manager at Athena Health in Boston, where she managed the governance and change management for software development tools and ensured audit compliance against industry standards. Prior to her role in healthcare, she was a product owner of a software platform team as a software engineer at Oracle, and her undergraduate degree is in mathematics and computer science. And of course, she's traveled the world far and wide in her spare time. Sanji, thank you so much for moderating today, and I'm sure the audience would love to hear what you're doing now as we kick off the introductions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for this opportunity to Maria and the team. So like she said, I'm Sanji Silva, just finishing up. And just a couple of weeks ago, I actually pivoted and I started working for a startup. And the cool part is this was a startup that was co-founded by some Yale SOM EMBA alumni from the class of 2017. So, you know, the network has been amazing, and I'm serving the role of Senior Director of Product and Compliance, and, you know, getting to experience everything on the business side as well, as opposed to, you know, I was very focused on the engineering side before, so I'm really enjoying that and enjoying this experience with, you know, continuing to work with some SOM folks. So without further ado, I would love to introduce this amazing panel that we have here today. So Kanetha, if you can go ahead and get us kicked off, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you towards business school, and specifically the Yale SOM EMBA, and, you know, where you started a year ago. Where were you in your career a year ago when you started, and how, if at all, have you shifted in your career? And also, you know, given these circumstances we're living in today, tell us about, you know, something positive that has happened to you or you've learned about yourself since the quarantine started.
Great. So I'm going to actually say good morning because I'm on the West Coast and it's still morning time here. So good morning to everybody. So my name is Kanetha Gaines and I am from the class of 2021. I'm still in the program, so I'm just about finished a year of the program. My track is healthcare, and I currently live in Los Angeles, so I was doing the commute from California to the East Coast. Currently, I am the nursing director at the Venice Family Clinic, which is part of UCLA Health, and I manage 7 clinics, 4 of them ambulatory primary care clinics. I have a homeless teen clinic, and then we also have a homeless patient clinic that I also am responsible for. And so in terms of business school, so I'm actually finishing up my doctorate in nursing at the Yale School of Nursing. And at the time, it was getting into nursing and really moving up into the leadership position. I started thinking about how business school is important and just understand the business acumen within healthcare and healthcare systems. And I didn't have the background or the knowledge. And one of the reasons why I pursued my doctorate of nursing because it was focused on hospital system space, and there were some business components to it. And I had thought about business school in the past. And when I thought about business school, I didn't really feel like I was the prototype of a business school student. But then like I said, I started to understand how important business was in healthcare and how it was important for me to try something new, try something different, to get out of my comfort zone. And so my aha moment really came in terms of me really understanding and wanting to actually go to business school is during so this is at the Yale School of Nursing. I was in a class, my policy class, and Dr. Howie Foreman, who's the director for the healthcare curriculum for the MBA program, actually came in to talk to our class about business school and he introduced the Pose and Commonwealth Fellowship with an emphasis on minority populations and vulnerable populations. And he talked a little bit more about this new fellowship and how this was important to really address these communities. And so I really thought at that time that this is really something that I would like to, look forward to, applying to and being part of. And I studied my minority health. I do a lot of work on infant mortality and looking at minority communities in health and access. So I thought this was really the opportune time for me. And it was time for me to get out of my comfort zone. So this is kind of my impetus for going to business school. And I think, and during this time of this COVID, in terms of like what I've learned, is that I'm pretty efficient at multitasking at this point right now. So I currently still have to go into work 4 days out of 5 days out of the week. I'm part of our emergency response team, so I'm responsible for creating protocols, keeping the staff safe, all of our supplies. And then I come home, I have children, and I have to manage making sure that they're, up to date on their schoolwork because everything's online. And then I'm managing the house. I have a husband too, but I see myself as this multitasker, and something that I can really, when I'm at work, really tune into that, and when I'm at home, really tune into that. So it's just giving me that opportunity to really realize, just my capabilities during this period of time.
Thank you, Kanitha. Let's move on to Ishal.
All right. Hello, everyone. We are not able to see your faces, but I see 44 attendees on the line, which is great. I hope, I was in your shoes, I think 2 years ago. My name is Michele DiPietro. I graduated a couple of days ago, I think. I'm in the same class with Sanji and Mehleb. I was a part of the asset management track. When I first started, I was located in Boston, Massachusetts. I was working as the head of risk identification for State Street Bank. And one day I decided to look at the business school programs. Before that day, 2 years ago, I was only focusing on technical skill building. I have a couple of masters in the field that I'm in, risk management. But I wanted to learn more about leadership, business, to get myself ready for the next opportunity. So I decided to send an email to Maria, find out more about the program, and then I found myself enrolled in it. It was a challenging, me and my classmates were talking about this whole experience. When you're going through the whole program, the days are really long, especially when you have your residence week. Those 2 weeks feels like it doesn't end. But when you look back, the years just pass by. I don't know how we started 2 years ago, how it completely ended, but it was an amazing opportunity. Sanji, you asked about a positive thing that happened to us. I think one negative thing I'm going to start with, I realized, I appreciated teachers a lot more. I have a 5th grader in my house who's a part of my homeschool, and him and I both can't wait for the quarantine to be over. I'm a very unqualified 5th grade teacher. He's a very unqualified fifth grade student, so we don't do well in class together. But apart from that, I think, we started connecting with people a lot more. I have all of my family in Turkey, so on a daily basis, I talk to all of my relatives. I think a part of it was grown out of this necessity. If something happens to my family members, I will not be able to visit them. So I wanted to talk to them every single day. But then you build ties, you build relationships. You're talking to second cousins that you haven't seen for 10 years. So I think that whole experience, connecting to people, slowing down time, had been the most positive things that happened to me throughout this quarantine.
Thank you, Michele. I agree. It was the same thing for me, connecting with people back home in Sri Lanka, where I grew up, and North Carolina, where I was before. So true. All right, let's move on to Mehleb.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Mehleb Nyangoya. I am a 2020 graduate as of recently, so very excited about that. But it also feels very strange because we were so used to being so busy and having you clock off from work, then you go home, you open your laptop and do assignments, and now it feels like I have nothing to do. So I'm trying to find things to fill my hours with in the evening. But anyway, I am part of the sustainability cohort. I am an engineer by training. I focus on product development, specifically hardware, electronics. Currently based in Hartford, Connecticut. I work for a company called TTN Technologies. I started with them, I'm still with them. It's a wonderful place to work for. And I think COVID has really shown how companies take care of themselves. I feel like they've laid a really good foundation. There could actually be a case study. At the moment, I'm currently, I still focus on product, but I'm moving into the business development, business strategy part. And hopefully on a global scale, I'm working on that. I will share that news later with my group, but that's where I am. So what inspired me to go into business school was I needed change. I was getting comfortable. And I think when you're technical, at some point becoming technical becomes, you relax too much, and I needed to challenge myself and grow. So I decided to go back to business school because I want to go into leadership. And for that, you need to be a little more informed. You need to make informed decisions. And I think an MBA was very good for that. And as I was looking at different schools and different programs, I didn't want just an MBA, the basic MBA program. I wanted something a little more. And the sustainability track at SOM really called to me. Actually, after I found out about that, I didn't even look at other schools. I knew Yale was the one. And I literally put all my eggs in one basket. And I'm like, if Yale doesn't work out, then I'll look at other schools. But until then, and I'm so glad that it happened. And 2 years later, I keep thinking to myself, I'm like, I cannot believe I'm done. It's been a very, very rewarding 2 years. And then for COVID, I think Sanji, you asked a very good question. What COVID has made me realize is that there's so many things that are more important than others. And just like Ishal, it's realizing that, you need to talk to your family more. My dad constantly calls me to check on me. And I'm like, Dad, I'm fine. I'm actually more worried about you. And I think that has helped us connect a little more. I feel like I need to talk to him every day. That's something, when you're busy, you're like, I'll call them once a week. But now you feel like you need to talk to them every day just because you don't know what's going to happen. And then the importance of a hug, being able to hug your friends is so, I cannot wait to give hugs. It's something we take for granted. And now you see your friend and you're waving from 6 feet away, which is not how I like to do things. So I cannot wait for this to end. And we can all just hug each other again and actually have coffee without a barrier between us. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Mehleb. Yeah, so thinking about this collective experience we're going through with this global pandemic, what would you say has been, what would you say about being in business school at this very moment or just having finished? And what has been the most impactful lessons you applied in your leadership roles prior to and throughout COVID that you picked up from the EMBA program? Ishal, would you like to take this one?
Sure. So I'm a risk manager. I'm a risk oversight director at Santander Consumer in Dallas right now. I shifted jobs during my second year. And risk managers are paid to think about these type of tail risk events. Obviously, we miserably failed, and we didn't, get ready for a pandemic all across. I was privileged to take Jeffrey Garton's Future of Global Finance class in my second year. It's a part of the asset management track. If those of you are interested, please search Jeffrey Garton, very accomplished professor, thought leader. He was a part of the finance community, but he also served with different leaderships. He was Undersecretary of Commerce for the Clinton administration. Jeffrey Garton goes through this class where he lays out different scenarios for you, what is going to happen to the future of globalization. And he makes you think through these scenarios to visualize how we can cope with different things that might happen in the future. When we think about COVID-19 right now, in real time, we are thinking through what are the different scenarios that could happen, and we are getting our institutions ready for the next thing that is likely to happen. There is a question online that says, I'm interested in hearing how the respective employers supported your programs and connect your MBA curriculum to the projects connected to your work. I mean, this is connected to our work right now. We are in real-time scenario testing on different things that might happen. We all became an online workforce right now. How does that workforce work differently than an office workforce? How do you create resiliency and business continuity when 95% of your workforce are doing work at home? How do you prevent privacy leakages? How do you deal with the things that are going to come up in the future? I think those are the things that are the most benefits that I learned from the program. And in the future, we are going to be more reliant on the robotics, AI, machine learning. So I think it is the time right now for business and society to start thinking through what are we going to do for the unskilled labor that is going to be largely affected by those changes in the work environment. And when there's a shift that happens, what is our responsibility as leaders to create the environment, not to create the social unrest? So I think those bigger picture views and divisions are my biggest takeaways from classes. If you stay connected with your professors after the program, once you join in, I think those are also very beneficial. So you can tag along with their research and help them out when they are thinking through these problems, and we can basically help our companies, help the society in general. I don't know if I answered that question, but I just generally brainstormed as you asked me the question.
No, that was awesome. Thank you, Ishal. Kanita, would you like to answer the question as well about, how you're applying your skills you've gained at work?
Yeah, so I actually feel that business school, and even just in the year that I've been here, it's really given me the necessary tools to really think differently, strategically, and then unconventionally in my approach. Currently, I had mentioned before that I am a nursing leader, and I'm part of our 6-person emergency response team. And my role has expanded from a nursing director. And so I'm currently leading our supply chain management of our personal protective equipment, or what everyone knows as PPE. So I'm responsible. So I'm actually working with distributors all over the country. We have a relationship. I have a relationship with UCLA Health, so I'm working closely with them. I'm working with some distributors that are outside of the country. I'm learning about the different types of equipment. There's a lot on my plate because we have to make sure that when we're doing our testing that we have the appropriate gear for our staff. And so I feel a lot of weight on my shoulders with being responsible for this. And this is a new role for me. So I have never been really part of a supply chain management, but classes like operations and modeling managing decisions have given me some insight in terms of like how to approach this. And I do a burn rate and understanding how many surgical masks we're using at a certain period of time, how many do we need? How can I forecast for the next 3 months? And a lot of those tools I've used from classes that I've taken from business school that I thought I wouldn't really be part of. I'm also a leader on infection control practices. I'm helping to create workflows. And then another important thing during this whole COVID-19 is that people are reacting differently. And so I'm managing a lot of personalities, a lot of stressors, a lot of behaviors from the staff and providers. Some people are calm, some people are very anxious. We've had a lot of providers that are very anxious about testing and being safe. So when they go home to their families, that they're being safe. And so there's that piece of it and managing that and, making sure that, that we're taking care of patients, but we're also taking care of each other. The other thing that I've learned is that as part of the 6-person emergency response team, I'm working with our CEO, our CMO, so our chief medical officer, our chief operation officer, our CEO, and then there's me. And so what I've learned is that, and I had never really worked closely with these people before. And so it was really my time to show my strengths and what I can bring to the team. And one of the things that I've learned through this is don't be afraid to state your opinion, no matter what level you are. And so I've been able to give a lot of really good perspectives on how we manage as a clinic, how we take care of our patients, the different workflows and the processes that we put together. And I always think about if you're silent, you're not heard. And if you're not heard, you can't offer your perspectives and you can't make an impact. So I think that's really important. And I've seen myself pretty verbal and really trying to give this different perspective on how we look at things. And I think during this time, I'm more patient. I'm thinking about lessons learned around feedback. How do I provide appropriate feedback from a lot of classes that we've actually taken? And focusing on strengths. I've figured out that right now we really need to bring people together and really focus on their strengths and what are the areas that they're great at so that we can bring it together and really work together during this whole pandemic. And then, just putting out fires every day and whether it be at home or at work and really understanding that at the end of the day that I want to be an advocate for vulnerable populations. And I think that's really important. We're part of, just very briefly, we're part of a program called Project Room Key, where we're trying to house homeless patients in hotels and shelters. So we're one of the designated sites in the city of Los Angeles to be able to do that for our patients. And at the end of the day, like I said, it's just like, how do we take care of our patients? How do we take care of each other? And, just getting through this.
Great, thank you, Kanitha. So I'd like to shift gears a little bit and talk about, the impact of the mission. Some of you may already be familiar with the mission of the Yale School of Management to educate leaders for business and society. So I would love to hear from our panelists about, the culture and the community, and tell us a little bit about the classmates, faculty, and, what has your experience been at the Yale School of Management. Mehleb, would you like to take this one?
Yes, absolutely. So I have to say, when I came into the program, actually going through the entire process, I was very nervous because you're walking into a community of very established people, very successful, very ambitious. And these are like leaders in their companies and their businesses, their founders. And you're sitting in a room of about 70 people, all of them with different perspectives of how they think, how they approach. You might not agree with some of their thoughts, but the fact that you're able to have good conversations around the real issues that we face in the world, as well as in our workplaces, was really inspiring for me. Starting from the faculty, the fact that you can talk to a professor about a business idea and they help you figure out how to bring it to life, or you can call your classmate or your learning team member and go like, hey, I'm dealing with this, can you help me out? I feel privileged to be able to say that now I have partners, I have sponsors, I have mentors, I have friends for life. just because of the community that Yale, the Yale SOM, especially the Amber team, was able to put together. If there's one thing I think we know how to do well, or SOM knows how to do well, is to connect people and make sure that they're connected for the rest of their lives. So, and I think that for me is a big deal. It's something I'm able to appreciate the most. And the fact that, you know, when we're talking about business for leaders for society, and that's exactly what I was saying earlier, that when I was looking at MBA programs, I didn't want just an MBA. I wanted something that could help me change how we do things, because we realized that we can go on, especially if you're in the sustainability track, you can go on making business decisions as they were done 20, 30 years ago. There's a whole new lens when it comes to risk, from environmental issues to social issues to governance issues. So the faculty and the way the curriculum is set up is supposed to help you think a little more holistically as to how to approach some of the issues. And you'll meet, and some of the professors you'll meet will actually inspire you for life. You walk in with this idea of like, this is what I'm gonna do. And by the time you walk out of this program, your lens has expanded to like maybe 10 or 20 times. So yeah.
Thank you, Mehleb. Yeah, and I can't say enough about the amazing community. I mean, it just is, it's amazing, you know, especially with where I am right now at a startup that was co-founded by SOM alumni. It's like, we keep going back, you know, and it's actually a healthcare tech startup. I don't think I mentioned this before. And we're still reaching out to so many of our classmates, faculty, you know, as we are working on this product. And so it really is an amazing community. And Kanitha, I would love to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of go back to when I interviewed. So my interview day, I felt a little intimidated. You know, I'm 4'11", and I walk in and there's all of these tall men in, you know, these suits, and I looked around, I said, well, what am I doing? But just from that experience, and there was a few women in my interview panel. And so it was new for me, because actually being in nursing, it's, you know, it's heavily women, and there's not as many men. So this was really my first experience being in a program where, you know, it was predominantly male. But given from that point and then entering the program, just talking to my class of 2021, I mean, we have a really great class. We're really supporting each other. We're really there for each other. I also thought that being graded on a curve for your first year, that people would be competitive and not willing to help. But I felt like it was the complete opposite. And this is for everyone in the class. If anyone has a strength or a skill in a certain area, and if you're unsure, you can reach out to them, and they're willing to help, which I didn't think that would be the case in business school. So the other thing that I want to stress about the importance in the first year is your learning teams. These are extremely beneficial. I'm fortunate right now. I have a very collaborative team. We work well together. We have the same goals and standards, and we're willing to help each other. And they were able to pick people from, there's the different tracks of asset management, sustainability, healthcare, and the different skill levels. So we have some people on our team. I'm not a heavy quant person. I'm better at writing. And we have people who are really heavy quant. And when I don't understand something, I'm like, explain this to me. And they're there to support and to help. And so I really feel like a lot of the classes that I was able to get through was because of my learning team, and the fact that I think SOM really encourages people to work together and to support one another. And I feel like that was the case. And then sometimes when you need to vent, you can just send a one-liner on WhatsApp to your team, and they really understand how you feel. They don't really have to say much, but you just say, this is going on, and they get it. And then I talked about the mix of the skill level, which is really, really great to balance out, you know, our skills. And then one of the things I have to say is with regards to the faculty, you know, after I've completed the courses that I've completed, I really sometimes I look back and I think about how amazing our professors are. And they're really experts in their field. And so if you have an interest in something, or you want to learn more, you can reach out to them. And I've realized during this time of COVID that I always recognized that our faculty was awesome, but during this period of time and transitioning from, going in person to 100% online, so they really showed compassion and understanding that during this whole crisis. They've extended deadlines, they've made adjustments to assignments. And another thing that they do during when we first started up online, checking in with us, just how do you guys feel? What's going on? What's going on with work, and just being very supportive. And so I appreciate that. And then the administrative team with Maria really, being very instrumental in me applying to the program and having that support while I'm here. So that's, yeah.
Thank you, Kanitha. Yeah, so one of the biggest anxieties that most candidates have as they're considering an MBA, and even the ones who are just, starting the program, is this question of, do I have what it takes to succeed and thrive, right? Because it's a lot of work. We're working full time while doing this program. And the answer is yes, it's a resounding yes. The admissions process is one that very thoroughly and thoughtfully reviews the candidates to make sure that they're academically ready. But it's only natural, to have some anxieties. And this is not something we talk about a lot, but imposter syndrome. I definitely felt it, first year, first semester. And some of us in my cohort have talked about this too. So Ishil, a two-part question for you. Did you experience any anxieties throughout the admissions process and throughout the program? And if so, how did you overcome them?
I think admissions process, all of us felt anxieties, right? This is a very prestigious institution. We are not sure if we fit in. We have the qualifications to study here. I'm from a very small town in Turkey, so limited English. So I was always worried about my writing, and if my package was strong enough. So I hope you will, those of you who are online considering Yale, I hope you will experience this. But on the first day, Mehleb, Sanjay, and I were in the same room. There's a big screen there. And on the screen, the admissions team is sharing with you the qualifications of your classmates. There's 72 of us in the room. And we're looking at all of these people with, so many graduate degrees and doctors and lawyers and people who climbed mountains, people who swam oceans, people who did things in life that you wouldn't even dare to think about. And then it's you there. And at one point I was sitting on that table and thinking, they probably just my application just got in and I somehow made it in there, I think. But then I realized later on when I connected with these people, everybody was feeling the same way. So that imposter syndrome is there, especially for women. We have to really make an educated decision to deal with it. If we don't deal with it, we will keep on not creating the same opportunities for the young female leaders who we are educating. So I think a part of me felt it very strongly. It was helpful to me because I'm coming from a quant background. So the first year classes were, these are the classes that I'm able to do well. And I was able to prove myself to myself first. And then the classmates were very encouraging and they lift you through. I mean, I learned economics and I have a master's in economics from a cardiologist in my group. So, you learn different things and this thought process from your classmates that you didn't think it was possible. There's a question on the line that says, as a risk manager, Hillary says, I feel I have hit a ceiling fan that my male counterparts don't have to overcome. I exactly felt the same way 2 years ago. I was a risk manager. I was a head of risk identification. And I felt I hit a ceiling fan and I had to do something about it. And, this whole, Hillary, I can take this offline and I can talk to you my experiences afterwards, but that's how I felt and that's how I realized that I had to do something about it. And why I chose Yale over the other programs, I was already in Boston. There was a very, prestigious school in there. I went to a couple of their sessions and I decided not to go there, but I can go much more into that. And I'm going to close up with a very quick joke. So I'm from a very small town with 30,000 people, small town in Turkey. And in that town, people don't know about Yale. They don't know about American institutions. So I called my mom to tell her I got accepted to the school. And I said, Mom, I made it to Yale. And later on, a week later, my brother told me, my mom is going around and telling people I'm going to Harvard. I said, Mom, why are you telling everyone I'm going to Harvard? She says, well, that's the only school they know here. So she had to say that. But, as female leaders, we have to be comfortable in our own skin. And I think Yale gives you the tools, and it gives you the skill set as well as the way to think as a female leader. So I'm happy to take this offline with any of you who want to talk about my thought process.
Thank you, Ishal. We're watching the time here as well, so I'd like to move on to the next question. Even the best executives experience challenges throughout this program, and with that comes a level of vulnerability, right? So, Kanitha, what were your commitments while in the program? You've got kids, your leadership roles, the community, etc. And how did you navigate to a place where you could eventually thrive?
Yeah, mine was complicated in the beginning. So I was still in the DNP program at the Yale School of Nursing. So I had been making the commute for 2 years at that time already. But we only had to commute once a month. And this program is actually twice a month. So I was already used to the flow and flying into New Haven and the different routes that I needed to take. So it was something that it was normal for me. At the time that I actually entered business school, so I was completing my last year of my DMP program, which I'm just about finished. I think I graduated. I'm not sure because I have some other little things I have to finish up, but I'm waiting for my diploma to come and then I'll say I've graduated. And at the time I live in Los Angeles. I was actually commuting to San Francisco for work. And so, and I was doing that 4 days a week. I would leave on Monday morning and I would fly to San Francisco and I would fly back home on Thursday evening. And I had a really great opportunity to work at UCSF. And so I took that opportunity and then commuting to the East Coast, every other Thursday and Friday, because it's coming from the West Coast. I would leave either Wednesday night and do an overnighter or leave early on Thursday morning to go to fly across the country. And so that was a lot of, and some days I didn't know if I was in SFO, which is the San Francisco airport. I didn't know if I was at LAX, and then I would fly into Philadelphia. So I was through these major hub airports like consistently while taking care. At the time my son was 6, he's 7 now, and my daughter was 13, she's 14 right now. And then, having a husband. So it was a lot. And, but I was at that point in my life where I'm like, okay, I need to just get this stuff, get it done and get it over with. And I have the energy right now, so I'm just going to keep going. And that's part of my personality. It's like, if I'm sitting around, that's just not me. And so, and then I was able to transfer. So a little bit over 6 months ago, I was able to actually transfer from UCSF to UCLA. So I didn't have to do the commute to San Francisco anymore because it was just killing me. So it's just commuting to the East Coast for right now, but it's been a lot. And, dealing with a family and dealing with a new job, because I had just moved in October to this new job and this new role. It was a lot, but I've been able to balance it. And I think the number one important thing for me to be able to even have the opportunity to do this is my husband. When I tell him I have these crazy ideas, I'm going to apply to this, he says, okay. I'm going to do this, he says, okay. And he's just been really supportive in me. And if I didn't have him, I wouldn't be able to do all of these things. And so I really want to acknowledge that. And if you have family members and, you know, significant others, you know, acknowledge them, because you're going to really need them to help you through this program, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment, and it's, you take out of it what you want. And I want so much from this. So I'm trying to learn as much as I possibly can. And so just, you know, that it's been challenging, but it's been a great opportunity. And I made the commitment, and I had, even up until we went 100% online, I had never missed a class. The 3 years I was in the nursing program, I had never missed a class in terms of commuting. So I knew my commitment in terms of, I wanted to do this, and this is like what I'm committed to do.
Thank you, Kanitha. So let's take one more question, and Mehleb, if you can answer this, that'd be awesome. If you can kind of think back to 2 years ago when you first heard about the mission and the School of Management, whether it was through a webinar like this or, you know, another event, how did you envision what it meant to be a leader for business and society, and how has your definition of leadership changed, if it has, as a result of the, you know, curriculum and the community?
So I'm a millennial. We are known to be difficult, and we are known to be the creatures of like, let's sustain. I talk a lot about sustainability and being ethical about the decisions we make as leaders, as people at home, especially at home, because I believe discipline like that starts from the house, and then it kind of propagates outside. So and then to add a caveat to that, I work for a very traditionally set up company where it's all about shareholders. You know, when you talk about fiduciary duty being to the shareholders, not all the stakeholders. And but when you walk into this program, especially when you're, let's say if you're on the sustainability track, you do learn that stakeholders are not just the shareholders. It's not just the people who put money into an entity. It's everyone who helps you turn around a product or service or make a return. And that helps you think a little outside the box when you're making every decision. And I think that's what this program has done for me. It's where I no longer just think about getting the product out at the least amount of time, at the least amount of cost. It's what's the impact of the product I'm getting out? Every decision I make, how does it affect my workforce? How does it affect my team members? How does it affect the community I operate in and the environment? So from that perspective, I think it's really helped me go outside of thinking as a traditional leader. However, I still work for the company that I worked for 2 years ago, and I'm working on staying on. It's where I've been trying to drive a change. We're trying to establish like an ESG CSR department, but there's a temptation to leave and work for a company that aligns with your person. We talk about that a lot, like you know, like put your energy or resources where they are welcome. But on the other hand, if you want to see change, you have to be the change that you want to see. You cannot just walk out and say it's someone else's problem. So, and I think that's the one thing that has made me stay or choose to stay where I am, because I want to drive that change that I want to see, because we cannot sit back and complain about global warming. We cannot sit back and complain about environmental issues or social issues and governance, yet we do not take the necessary steps that we need to make these things happen. And from that perspective, I think this is what this program has done for me. I am willing to step outside and actually fight for the things I want. They might not be large scale, you know, like, oh, all of a sudden, it's equal pay for all women, but it's the little steps that you take that actually lead to a bigger impact. And they take time. They take time because you cannot upheaval a whole company in one day. You have to make sure that whatever transitions you make, they align with everything else. And I hope that comes through. And when you come in and you start this program, a lot of people have talked about pivoting their careers or pivoting to other companies or different industries. Some of us choose to stay because we know that the industries we work in need a lot of work and a lot of help. And at least the Amber program, because it does have the sustainability aspect to it, or healthcare, because it's a healthcare focused or asset. It gives you the tools that you need to, you know, arm yourself and go into a room and talk eloquently and people hear you out. Yeah.
Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm just popping in here because we're at the 1:15 mark. I wanted to do a little bit of a wrap here. For those of you who have a few more minutes, please stay on. We hope to share with you some of the follow-up questions that you had. I know that Raj had a question about kind of like the return on investment, and also there was a question about why Yale over, some of the other considerations that you had. But as we segue from a very mission-focused question and purpose, I'm going to actually, Sanjay, thank you so much for moderating. This has been really lovely, and I wanted to ask you those questions. Like, what has the impact been for you, and how do you see return on investment, and why this program?
Thank you, Maria. Yes. So first of all, why I actually live in Boston. So you might have heard of some schools, that have MBAs over here. But I visited them, and then I visited Yale. I met Maria and, the assistant dean at the time, and I just fell in love. I was actually a round 3 applicant. I just decided to go ahead instead of waiting. It's really, I think in one word, it's the community and the network for me. And the return on investment, actually, it's an interesting question because it is a lot of money. It is a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. And for me, I kind of looked at it as taking a mortgage on myself from the financial perspective, because I am a risk-averse person and it's a lot of money to kind of commit to. But it has paid off in unimaginable ways. It's opened up doors that I didn't think existed, just like pivoting to this startup world. I always knew I wanted to try it. I had always been at companies that had more than 1,000 employees, and for the last 10 years of my career. And this has been so fulfilling and rewarding. And even when I was at Athena, my goal was to move towards the business side and get that business acumen and move away from, just being engineering focused. And even that, I noticed 6 months in, my leaders and some of my colleagues, when, they hear about the fact that I'm doing the MBA because I'm not there every other Friday, and then they talk about it, and it's kind of, it's also sending a signal towards your colleagues and leaders that you're in this, you're committed, you want to do this, and you want to kind of do more, right, with your role. And so, I think from a return on investment perspective, it's been so great. And, we believe in this so much that my husband is actually part of the class of 2022. So, he saw and I was like, he saw firsthand how much work it takes, but we see why it's worth, and how impactful it has been for me. So I'll pause there, but thank you so much for everyone who attended, and all of our amazing panelists, and Maria, you too.
Thank you. So we're gonna close, but I know that everybody has left their email addresses in the chat. Obviously we're available in admissions to connect with you by Zoom or by phone. You can reach us at emba.admissions@yale.edu. And also I will post my email address in the chat as well. But I want to thank Kanitha, Isho, Mehleb, and Sanjay once again. We really, I think about the ways in which we work really hard to create and cultivate such dynamic classroom experiences. And I don't think that we could do that without your help and your insight and all of the generosity that you have here today for all of the prospective students and candidates who are online. So thank you so much. I wish you all the very best as you go forth throughout the day. Bye, everyone.
Be safe. Bye.
Bye,
Thank you for joining. Bye-bye.